All right, at long last, I get to lead. Wow. Hi, everyone. I'm Ray. I'm an alcoholic. Ray! Just going to be here with you guys tonight. Thank you, Tony, for the invitation. Tony's my sponsor. We've been working together for 4 years. It was exactly 4 years ago today that he came by with my friend, my grant sponsor, Tom, and another trudging buddy to pull me out of the depths of a 3 or 4 day bender from my bedroom, and I was ready to, it was my last chance basically to try and get sober, and I was only going to do it one more time. I had 16 relapses prior to that, and within about a 2-year span up until that 4 years ago when I made the choice to surrender and to fully give myself to this program. And I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to be on stable ground now and to be able to give back to people in the program, trudging buddies, family, all that stuff. So it's really great to share birthdays with the guys here. I love men's meetings. I go to the San Marino is my home group on Thursday nights, and that's where I know a lot of the knuckleheads in the back. It's really been a great part of my program and my recovery. And so as I thought about sort of the opportunity to lead tonight, it was really challenging for me because I've been it's been a shit year. It's been a really tough year for me, just personally on a lot of different fronts. I've had a job situation where I work at USC, and there's been budget cuts for the past year, and my job was pretty much like I was gonna be laid off. Knowing that is actually good, so you can plan and do a job search, but it's almost easier not to know that, so that you can just kind of like, it just happens and you have to deal with it at that point. But it's been hanging over me for the better part of a year, and I've been really balls to the wall on a job hunt, and I'm still not getting anything. It's just tough in my industry, I guess, or at my age. I just turned 51, and it's been a lot of financial insecurity fears, and that's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges in my recovery program is that I came into the rooms, I was a fun drunk, I was party boy, I was, my last big run, I did a two and a half week trip to Europe, blacked out in Paris, have no idea how I got back, missed my flight from Norway to Greece, was really hungover in Greece, drank all day that day when I got there, and stayed in a resort for 3 days and did not leave the resort, and rang up about $1,000 in bar bills apparently by the pool. And I had no recollection of it. And so, I got back and I asked for help. I surrendered at that point for the first time, but I really only wanted help to control my drinking and not to stop. I just realized that, I had a problem, but there was no way I was going to stop drinking though. I was fun. Like, that's my personality. That's how I was wired. And it took me so many like slips and falls and bad incidents after that to finally realize that I had to surrender. And as part of that, I've been on this really big tear of financial recovery because I had probably had about $50,000 in debt going into that trip. And then I didn't work for 2 years, and I cashed out retirement, and I just lived as if I was continuing a normal life instead of tightening my belt and doing the beans and rice thing. And it was really stupid, and I got up to, almost $100,000, and I've been working my ass off to pay that down, and I'm under $20,000, thankfully. But it's basically my full-time job. It's a dog sitting job. I was doing Amazon delivery for a while until I got fired for probably throwing packages at houses. And you're not supposed to do that apparently when there's Ring cameras and somebody can turn you in. So I found that out the hard way. And then I got a new car and I started doing Lyft driving. And I've been doing that for about 7 months, and it's a blessing and a curse. It's really great to meet some people, but it's also a lot of time in the car and not great money. So I've just been like really pushing it, and the more that I've been doing that, the further away I've gotten from my program, because I remember 3 years last year, and I had worked really hard to finish the steps with Tony right before that 3 years, and that was my goal. Was I wanted to do it by the time I was 3, and get that done, and it happened. It was great, and then I've let off the gas a lot this year, and I've been really focused on probably some frivolous stuff. I like to travel a lot. I plan a trip every about 5-6 weeks, local, sometimes international, going to Europe at the end of December. And it's what I need in my head, I think, and I convince myself of this every single time I say you shouldn't do this, but you end up buying the ticket. I feel like I need that to kind of get out of my craziness of all the work that I've been doing. So yeah, it was, the other thing that really kind of shook me this year is I lost my first friend in this program, and he was my first roommate. We decided it was the blind leading the blind contest of, let's room together, let's find this house. And I live in Echo Park, and he moved in with me, and we got this house together, and we were, he was gone within 4 or 5 months after 3 different relapses there. And I've had 3 or 4 sober roommates come through since then, but I stayed in touch with Stephen and over the years, and just, it really shook me because he really wanted it so bad. He really did a lot of the work. He really poured himself into the program, and at the end of the day, he just, relapsed, broke his neck, and was paralyzed, and didn't make it long after that. So, I went to his service, and I was just really greeted there by, I knew his family fairly well, and they were very nice to me, and just, but it was just like this weird thing about why do I get the gift of sobriety, and he didn't. He's got a loving family that really missed him, and a son, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a spouse, and it was like a why not me type of thing, and I just quickly kind of turned that into sort of a program of gratitude, and going back to my tools, which is my subject for tonight, is how do I deal with all this stuff, as I always go back to what are my tools in this situation. But that was really hard to kind of see somebody that I was hoping would get it in the program, and I know that's part of the story of recovery, is you're going to lose people along the road. But it was a particularly tough loss, and then this last week has just been challenging with what's going on in the world and how to make sense of it all and how I feel about it. And 4 years ago, my sobriety date was 4 years ago, and I was celebrating that election result, and that was part of why I drank. And so it's really interesting to be here 4 years later and think about how am I going to process this stuff. And I really have been going to my tools and my powerlessness and acceptance. It's all about acceptance for me. It's just I just have to get through today. I got to be of service to people where I can. I've been on phone calls with my mom this week, and she's going through a lot of problems, and it's just, I don't want to deal with it, but I'm grateful at the end of the conversation to be able to help her through that. And same with another good friend of mine that's been struggling for quite a bit of time and cannot get on track. And talking to him is sort of on the phone is just an exercise in frustration, because he's just talking over me, and I'm just trying to get some ideas and suggestions, and he's not that very interested in it. And it was just dude, I think you need to go to Thailand, right? Just go do a recovery program in Thailand. And he's that's not a bad idea. And, would you do some research for me on it? I'm like, absolutely, yeah, I will do that. And so, to be of service for him was, he's tried all the rehabs, tons of rehabs, and it was just there's a Google search that I did, and there was a ton of different programs there, and maybe that'll work, and maybe it probably won't, but it felt good to be of service to somebody that's been struggling, that kind of reached out in his own way for help, and I had an idea that might stick and might lead to him getting on track. And so that was kind of one of the successes that I had this year, or I guess recently. But yeah, the notion of just acceptance and powerlessness has been really key for me. I'm looking at this job situation too, and it's keep going back to that. I just offer my services. I try to do the best that I can every day, and I've made some suggestions about how I can play a bigger role on the team, and it's working out. You know, I've managed to save my job for now, and it buys me more time to continue on with the job search. And I would have 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have freaked out about the fact of like, what are you trying to do? Like, why are you trying to get rid of me? And like the threat of a layoff and all of that, I would have just panicked. And you know, I don't have a family that can support or back me up financially. It's all been on me throughout my life, and so you know that fear comes into play, and I just keep going back to what are my tools and how I'm going to get through this situation. And that's really, you know, testament to the program and what I've learned over the 6 years of trying, the 4 years of continuous sobriety and working the steps is, you know, I just have to remember what path I'm on and what I'm excited about. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot on recovery, and there was one I heard recently about, you know, what is a life in recovery like? And it was like, you see everything that you do throughout your day through a lens of, this is part of my recovery, and I'm on this journey to meet the new version of myself that alcohol drowned. You know, I drank since I was like 15, 16 years old, and up until I was 45, 46. And, you know, there's a whole new person that's coming out right now, and I'm kind of excited to see what happens with that. That's why I work so hard. I mean, I could basically have not chosen to pay off all of this debt as aggressively as I'm doing, but there's a freedom at the end of that that I'm really looking forward to embracing, and sort of what is that new chapter going to be like for me, and what I'm going to be able to do. And I certainly hope and expect that that's going to lead me into the rooms even more. I lived in Los Angeles, and I don't know those meetings over in that area as much as I should. I kind of started getting sober when the pandemic was happening, so a lot of my stuff was on Zoom at the time. But there's a lot of good meetings out there, and I definitely, you know, need to plug in and start doing that. But I'm very focused on what I'm focused on right now, and you know, that's what I tell myself. I'm in this constant battle of what is my will versus God's will, and I don't surrender very easily to, you know, what is God's will for me every day. I kind of have to remind myself that I need to do that more, because when I start getting frustrated or irritated, then I know that that's not going well for me that day, and I have to let go and surrender. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. I'm going to give you guys back some time. I definitely want to hear from all of you guys about sort of what is your go-to tool in your program of recovery that gets you back on track when you're going off track. So thanks for listening tonight. I appreciate this.